For Hugh Hefner, the 86-year-old legend who founded the iconic Playboy Enterprises nearly 60 years ago, being the public face of Playboy has been as crucial to the success of his media empire as editing his famed magazine. As part of an exclusive with the Wall Street Journal, he talks in depth about his hope that his 21-year-old son Cooper will soon take over for him as Playboy's frontman. Hefner also discusses a forthcoming film being made about his life. They are doing a movie about your life. Tell me about that. Who would you want to play Hugh Hefner?
I'm not going to be doing the casting. I don't know. Whoever seems appropriate, as long as they get the story right.
And you're a lover of movies, so
I am a lover of movies.
So you would be a critic in terms of making sure that the right person plays you, though.
Yes.
And so as you have gone on in your career, what would you say the highlights of that movie would be?
Well, I know that they're going to do the film in a time frame that is ideally suited. They're going to do it from the launch of the magazine, which is 1953, through the 60s, the very beginning of the 70s. And that is the ideal time for telling the story, because it's not only the launch period for Playboy, but also it is the period in which we changed the world. The sexual revolution took place in the 1960s.
Right, and as you move forward and look forward into the future with your magazine and with all of your different properties, what do you see?
Well, more of the same. I think that you can't repeat the impact that the magazine had in the 60s and 70s, because quite literally the world changed. I think that increasingly now we're going to be dealing with the brand and branding of various kinds of products, etc. There are at present 30 foreign editions of Playboy.
And when you look at right now social media, you're on Twitter, you've kept up with the times. What is the role that social media is playing?
Well, it gives us, obviously other ways of reaching our audience, and also getting, insights into that audience, because we get playback. As you know, I am a Twitter bug.
Right. Yeah.
When I was in high school, I was a jitterbug. Now I'm a Twitter bug.
You have over 1 million followers. Connecting.
Who are those people that are following me?
Well, they're the young people of this country. Pretty much everybody who knows you're on Twitter, probably. How do you connect with the young people? You seem to, you haven't had to recreate yourself, and you've still been relevant.
Well, I think that's one of the things that is most striking, and to remain relevant and in the center of what's going on for over 50 years is remarkable, and I take great pride and pleasure in that.
And how have you done it?
Well, simply by doing it my way. I think that young people growing up identify with Playboy and my life, and maybe it's a source of inspiration for some.
When you look at the magazine industry, what is it that it's going to have to happen to stay, for the magazine industry to stay where it is?
Well, the technology has changed everything. In other words, young people do not read as much as they used to, and they read now in a different way. Books, magazines, newspapers are not as popular as they were when I was growing up, and there's a certain sadness in that. In Playboy's case, it's always been about the pop culture and the lifestyle, and that continues to be of interest to young people.
And you've straddled the pop culture and the intellectual side. You're very journalistically credible as a magazine. Is that the secret?
Well, the notion behind the magazine, certainly from the very beginning, was that it would be a lifestyle publication for young city-bred guys. The magazine started in 1953, and in that post-war period, in other words, after World War II, most of the men's magazines at that point were outdoor adventure books, and I wasn't much interested in being outside. So I created a magazine essentially for myself and combined the lifestyle things of interest to young men, but also, you know, combined with very good literature, good reading.
When you look at your career, you were also involved in activism, free speech, gay rights.
Well, you know I'm a First Amendment man.
Right.
First Amendment is first because it's foremost, it's the most important. In other words, without free speech and press, you don't have a democracy.
What kind of role do you see your son playing with the magazine in the future?
Well, it will obviously be defined by their own interests, etc., but the nice news is they're interested in what the old man is doing. And Cooper, who's here today, is very actively involved with the publication. And one of the great questions was, you know, at 86, you know, what happens after half is gone? And I think we see the answer in my son.
Okay, so would you call him the heir apparent?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Cooper is the heir apparent. How do you prepare someone like that to fill these shoes?
Well, I let him hang out a lot.
Okay.
And he does that very well. He was truly born for the job.
They grew up around this house. What are the fondest memories you have of them growing up around here?
Well, I think my fondest memories, quite frankly, are today. In other words, I would say that this last year is the best, and it's getting better. We're closer now than we've ever been.
You've been able to be around because when you were building the magazine, in the books that I've read and things about you, the first generation of kids, you were working a lot. You made a special effort to spend time with these two.
Well, in my first marriage, I wasn't there for Christy and David. With Cooper and Marston, they lived right next door.
Right.
I intentionally got, you know, when, obviously to begin with, they were growing up here at the mansion, and when that marriage failed, I wanted the family to remain close, so I was able to acquire the house next door.
And, you know, there's been a lot about your last marriage, or when you were going to get married and didn't. Have your views on marriage changed at all?
Well, I'm a romantic, and you know, the notion of getting married again, I really had mixed feelings from the very beginning, and I really did it because I thought that's what she wanted. And then at the last minute, it turned out it wasn't what she wanted, and I was faced with what they call the runaway bride. Mm-hmm. But we remained friends, and she didn't run that far.
What is it that you hope for your sons in that area? Would you like to see them get married young?
I want them to fulfill their own personal dreams and you know, have a happy life, and a life that you know, does something worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. When you look at the social media and the reality shows and all of the things that you've engaged in to stay relevant, do you see yourself getting back into reality shows anytime?
It depends. It depends. In other words, when I originally did Girls Next Door, you know, before that, people had been trying to get me interested in reality shows, and I wasn't much interested in. The only reason I did it was because the emphasis was not on me. The emphasis was on the girlfriends, and I thought that was kind of an inspired notion. In other words, to tell a life of the Playboy Mansion through the eyes of the women. and it turned out to be rather inspired and became hugely popular with women. That was a good thing.
Right. And what did that really do for the overall Playboy brand?
I think it expanded in a dramatic way on a global level the brand and the appeal of the brand, so that it was no longer and is no longer perceived simply as a men's brand.
How much of Hugh Hefner that we see on the reality shows is really Hugh Hefner?
I think by and large I'm the guy that I appear to be. I don't have any great secrets. I've said on more than one occasion that my life is an open book with illustrations. Good illustrations.
Really, you've kind of pioneered the idea of the persona-driven celebrity. What do you think of the persona-driven celebrities that have come after you in this generation, like the Paris Hiltons and the Kardashians?
I think one of the problems with celebrity today is that it isn't often not based on anything. Celebrity today is simply showing up. And if you're on television for 5 minutes, you're considered a celebrity. When I was growing up, celebrities were people that really, actors or people that really accomplished something.
When you started out the magazine, very, very intimately involved on the day-to-day business of that.
Well, I think that magazines are the most personal form of journalism. And certainly Playboy was a very personal and remained a very personal publication. It was a reflection of the magazine and the brand, a reflection really of my own dreams and aspirations, and I think that it has become so very popular because they are dreams and aspirations that I share with a great many other people.
How will the brand change?
I think it will remain essentially the same, but will change as the world changes. In other words, to remain relevant, you have to interconnect with your own particular time. And what that time will be, you only discover when you get there.
And you have the competitors they're not, you have people that have gotten into the adult space that are harder, that are giving content away for free. How do you compete against that?
Well, I don't think, quite frankly, that part of the business has much to do with me or much to do with the magazine. In other words, the magazine, a long time ago, separated itself from what have been referred to as the imitators. I think the magazine remains relevant and popular because it is a very good magazine. It is the best men's magazine. It continues to win prizes and awards, and that makes me proud.
Your article, The War on Sex, you were excited about doing that. Why was it important now? Tell me about that, and why was it important for you to come out with that?
Well, I wasn't expecting that, quite frankly. Back in the 1960s, I did an extended editorial series called The Playboy Philosophy, and it attempted to define who we are and what we believed in. I was not expecting to revisit that area again, but once the Republicans running for president started dragging the old sex taboos back into the picture, and almost all of them did, I just felt something had to be said. I felt as if we had just gone back 20 or 30 years, and I needed to remind people that we won that war, the personal sexual freedom, a long time ago, and we're not going to let somebody else take it away from us.
Do you think you will need to write another article 5 years from now?
I'll probably have to write another one a lot sooner than 5 years. I think that that subject is out of the battle, and I think the battle goes on. Freedom requires ongoing vigilance, and I think you need to speak out. One of the things that's really fascinating for me, quite frankly, is that other than free speech and press, the First Amendment, the other thing that is most important in a democracy, it seems to me, is personal freedom in your bedroom. When people try to take that away from you, then they really are playing with what is fundamental in terms of being free.
And the fact that you're 86 years old and still a staunch advocate of sexual rights, are you really living that in your life with all the girlfriends and everything, or are you backing away from that?
With 3 or 4 girlfriends, I'm not backing away very far.
So you still have 3 or 4 girlfriends?
Yes, I do. Yeah. They keep me young.
And they also keep your brand out there. What is it that you want for your son in that area? Do you see your son having 3 or 4 girlfriends too?
No, I think that's entirely up to him. I think that, I grew up in a very traditional home, and I tried marriage twice. The fact that it didn't work for me certainly isn't because I didn't want for it to work. I am a very romantic guy, and whether it's in marriage or not, I'm looking for a stable, ongoing romantic relationship.
I can recall that you wrote your parents a letter when you were in college, and you talked about how great of parents they were and how much that there wasn't anything that they could have done differently to give you and your brother a happier life. How did it go from you being in this conservative family to being not so conservative in your adult life?
Well, I think the one thing in my home that was missing was intimacy, emotional intimacy, and physical intimacy. It was a home in which we were not hugged. And my brother and I were both very much aware of that. And I think that maybe to some extent I overcompensated for that with multiple girlfriends. I think that love is my rosebud. In other words, romantic love. I really, I'm only half alive if I'm not in a relationship. In other words, everything is better when you're in love. You have somebody to share your life with.
So, are you misunderstood then?
It depends on who you're talking to. I think some people understand me very well. As I said, my life is an open book with illustrations. But what one sees and how one interprets what they see, because my life is also very controversial. I've dealt with, in a very open way, the things that are touchstones for what motivates us and the things that we repress.